Good morning viewers, వెల్కమ్ టు కోనసీమ షార్ట్ హ్యాండ్ క్లాసెస్. ఈ స్పీడ్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఇది డిసెంబర్ 1986లో 150 వర్డ్స్ పర్ మినిట్ స్పీడ్కి ఇచ్చినటువంటి డిక్టేషను. కానీ నేను దీన్ని 130 వర్డ్స్లో చెప్పడం జరిగింది. ఇది అప్పుడు ఇచ్చినటువంటి డిక్టేషన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో 150 వర్డ్స్ పర్ మినిట్ దాంట్లో ఇచ్చాడో పేపర్ 2లో కండెన్సేషన్ అన్నమాట. ఇప్పుడు ఈ డిక్టేషన్స్లో ఇది థర్డ్ డిక్టేషను 120 వర్డ్స్లో, కాబట్టి జాగ్రత్తగా వ్రాయండి. 5 seconds start. My association with the Central Social Welfare Board, New Delhi, has been of long standing. In fact, it dates back to its very birth during 1956. I might say that I had some small hand even in the idea of forming such a board. Social welfare in India is almost as old as Indian civilization. In recent times, there have been great social reformers, particularly people who stood up for the cause of women's advancement and emancipation. But these movements were largely confined to the big cities and to certain classes of educated men and women. I must admit that men took the first strides in the emancipation of women, Vivekananda and others. Of course, there are many more names of prominent women. The initial task of the Central Social Welfare Board was to see what was being done and how to extend the word to areas where it did not exist and amongst people who had not yet been involved. And that was why the state welfare boards were constituted. They enabled women in the states right down to the district level to assume positions of responsibility. For the first time, women who had never undertaken any work developed balance and self-confidence, which I think is the very first step in during any kind of work successfully. The next task was how to help the voluntary bodies to expand their work. We felt that they should be given the first choice if they could do any work. So voluntary bodies and organizations at that time were much more self-reliant than they are now. Today, unfortunately, they look almost for everything towards the government, whether it is funds or any other matter. This is rather unfortunate. So far as the status of the board is concerned, I know that the Education Ministry and the Social Welfare Department have strong views with which I do not always agree. But I am afraid the real block in the beginning was not the ministry at the center, but some of the state governments who refused to cooperate with the state welfare boards or the local chairmen. Because we had this trouble for a number of years, we felt that either we should wind up or put the boards under the states. This is part of a much bigger problem. There is not much we can do about it. I think you are all aware of it. The Central Social Welfare Board and the state boards have specified functions. The chairman and the Minister for Education have both outlined some of the programs which you currently undertake and which you can take up in future. But actually, there is no limit to the work that the boards can do. We must have the will which recognizes that no obstacle is insuperable. When you think of the task of the first social reformers and the tremendous resistance in society in their time, or even of the first woman who took any step, whether it was to break through parda or any other thing, you have no idea how difficult it all was. There are hundreds of instances where things happen which just do not come to our knowledge, and even if they do, we are not able to take action because of the prevalent social attitudes. The major task of all social workers is to try and change social attitudes. Although we have broken many barriers, a still larger number of barriers remain, and they are as great obstacles as the earlier ones were in their day. Although many more women are active in all branches of public activity, it is true that women by and large are not really considered first class citizens. Unfortunately, this is true not only of our country but even of some of the most affluent and advanced countries. Perhaps you know that in Switzerland, which prides itself on its democracy, its freedom, and its very beautiful landscape, there are areas where women do not have the vote. Every now and then they take an opinion poll, and men and women say that women have no need of the vote. Similarly, in different countries, there are other types of restrictions. The first thing to do, therefore, is to change social attitudes towards women. I want to make it clear that I am not feminist in the accepted definition of the word, but am considered with human beings, and women are very much a part of the race.